Hello guys, and this is Scott here, and today I've got another historic video for you, and in this one we're having a look at the hot summer of 1983. Now it's been a while since we've done one of these actually. I think the last time we done one was the end of April, and I apologise for that actually. I've been doing quite a bit of work lately, so I've not really had time to do a lot of recording. But here we are now, we're back anyway, and I'm going to try and get a few of these done over the next couple of weeks. So as I said, I've been asked to have a look at the hot summer of 1983 in this one. And it's actually quite a forgotten summer really. I often don't see 1983 mentioned very much, but it certainly was a very hot summer. It has a very forgotten July. The July of 1983 was absolutely superb for hot weather. And we'll get onto that a bit later on. But for now, I'd just like to say that many of the charts that you see in this video come from the weathercentral.d archive. They have an archive of weather charts going back to January of 1871. And many of the facts and figures that you hear in this video come from Trevor Harley's personal weather website. He has factual information for months going back to the start of the 20th century, and then smaller fragments of information going back as even far as the Middle Ages. So that's a fantastic resource, and as I always do, I'll leave the links to those two websites in the description below. So we're going to start off on the 1st of June 1983, so the first day of the meteorological summer. And to be honest, looking at that chart there, you'd be surprised to think there's a hot summer coming, because normally that would be quite a poor pattern. You know, we've got hints of blocking around Greenland and generally the jet stream and areas of low pressure diving quite far south. And actually this is the remnants of the spring actually. The spring of 1983 was actually quite a cold one, and it had that famous snowy Easter. But there we are on the 1st of June, and June 1983 was actually a very mixed month. It did have some summery hints, but it also had some unsettled features as well. It has a central inland temperature of 14.4, which is quite close to average, and it was actually a very thundery month this actually. 1983 was a very thundery year, and this was just one of those months. So on the 1st of June we start off a bit on the cool and unsettled side with low pressure to the south of the UK. And that really goes through the 2nd and into the 3rd of June, before we start to bring hints of high pressure through the country on the 4th. And as you can see, that area of low pressure is stalled to the southwest of the UK, and what that's doing is it's bringing up a very slack and gradual southerly wind. So we're introducing some warmer air very gradually there. And so what this does is this combines with cooler air from the northeast. And as we go into the 5th, we actually get some massive thunderstorms along the south coast. In Hampshire, we actually have hail that records up to 75 millimetres in diameter, which is about 3 inches, which is absolutely absurd size. You know, absolutely incredible. And there was some spectacular lightning in this storm. And this was on the afternoon of the 5th of June. And as we go into the 6th of June, it does actually settle down a little bit, before on the 7th we bring more thunderstorms in, and this time this goes into the West Country. And in fact, again we have a very big hailstorm in Manchester and in the north of Wales, and this brings again some fantastic lightning and some incredible rainfall totals. And again you can see on that southeasterly wind that we're bringing up hot air from the continent, so that is fueling those storms. So you know, the first week of the summer was extremely interesting. And then as we go into the 8th, you know, that just really signals that pressure pattern there. We have low pressure to the east and a hot southerly flow. And if I show you the upper air temperatures there on the 8th of June, you can see it was actually quite hot. The 15 Celsius isotherm is across the southeast corner of the country, and the 10 Celsius isotherm is really across most of the country, apart from Scotland and Northern Ireland. So it was certainly a very interesting start to the summer. However, as we go into the 9th, it does start to cool off a bit as that area of high pressure flattens, and we bring in a bit more of a westerly flow. So through the 10th and into the 11th, we actually bring quite a big gale to Scotland. That's a very deep area of low pressure, that, for the time of year, at 970 millibars. That's a storm that you would expect more in September, October, so into the autumn. And we had this in June, which really, the early June is one of the quietest times in the North Atlantic. So again, a very interesting start to the summer. And that goes on into the 12th and the 13th before, again, we bring another area of low pressure through on the 14th, and then high pressure starts to build through on the 15th. So it's a very mixed and mobile first half of June, this. And then this high pressure starts to bring again some warmer and drier weather. So on the 16th and into the 17th, we bring temperatures widely up into the mid-20s. So, we get something calmer and drier at this time. And really that goes on into the 18th and the 19th of June. So again, fairly decent weather for the time of year. Again, it's not going to last, because as we go through the 20th and into the 21st, that high pressure starts to migrate northwards. And if you look over France, you can actually see that we've got weaker pressure there. And that's going to come up, and again, as we go through the 22nd and into the 23rd of June 1983, we bring some spectacular and very severe thunderstorms through the country. So again, an area of low pressure interacts with all that hot air. And actually, again, in Hampshire, Hampshire was really the highlight of thunderstorms in this month. A thunderstorm actually drops 103 millimetres of rain, and some reported lightning flashes every second. So, almost a constantly lit thundercloud. So that really is an amazing thunderstorm for even the middle of summer, really. And as we go through the 24th and into the 25th of June, you can see that high pressure is trying to ridge into the country. And if you like, that's almost getting us ready for July, if you like. However, by the 26th and the 27th, the winds actually revert a bit more into the northwest as the high pressure pulls out into the Atlantic. So we do get a spell of cooler weather now. But again, that's not going to last long, because as we move towards July, we're going to see a very big change. And into the 28th and the 29th of June, really we keep that northwesterly flow into the end of the month. There we are on the 30th of June. And that takes us into the 1st of July 1983, and what a month July 1983 was. It has a central inland temperature of, get this, 19.5 degrees. And at the time this was set, it was by far the hottest July, and actually the hottest month the country had ever seen. It was the hottest month of the 20th century. So this really is a true classic of a summer month. And it was actually really caused by a perfectly timed heat wave. Pretty much right at the start of the month, warm weather set up, and it went through right to the end of the month. And so this was the first of 3 months to record a central inland temperature above 19 degrees. So this is, as I said, one of the all-time scorchers of summer months. And really it gets going straight away, because as we go through the 1st and into the 2nd of July, an area of low pressure passes by to the north of Scotland. So this brings some cooler and wetter weather to the north. However, on the 3rd, the high pressure seizes its opportunity, and into the 4th, it completely takes over the pattern and shoves low pressure and the jet stream towards Iceland. And that is always a sign of warm weather to come in the summer. And actually, one thing to mention is that every day between the 3rd and the 19th of July 1983, so that's 17 consecutive days, 27 Celsius was reached or exceeded in the country, and so that's 80 Fahrenheit. So this is a very prolonged heat wave. And really, this is where again it kicks off. So through the 5th and into the 6th, high pressure builds through the country and up towards Scandinavia, and it just holds the Atlantic off into the 7th. And then on the 7th, this area of low pressure to the west of the country, it does two things. It brings a little bit of weaker pressure to the west, so again we get some massive thunderstorms in the west, but it also shifts the winds into the south, so this is where we start to drag up even hotter air now. So as we go into the second week of July, that area of low pressure then gets stalled in the Atlantic by the high pressure. So again we turn it more anticyclonic, and if you look at that there, we've got a very slack pressure pattern. So that means that there was absolutely no wind at all at this time. So, this is just allowing the heat to build further. We have temperatures going up to 30 degrees now in the south, and quite widely up into the high 20s across most of England and Wales as well. And into the 9th, and into the 10th, high pressure just builds further and further through the country, and into the 11th of July. And then on the 12th of July, this is where we start to bring the hottest weather of the summer, because every day between the 12th and the 16th of July, so 5 consecutive days, 32 Celsius is recorded somewhere in the country again. So that's 90 Fahrenheit. So the magic 90 Fahrenheit is recorded for 5 days on the trot. And really that kind of record is only comparable to 1976, when we had that heat wave at the end of June. So this really is a phenomenal heat wave. And really, those are the upper air temperatures there on the 12th. You can see the 15 Celsius isotherm is really all the way across England and Wales really, and through a good part of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And actually further south we have the upper air temperatures up to 16 or 17 degrees. So that really is intense summer heat. And it's just absolutely scorching through this middle part of July. Clear, unbroken skies, dry weather through the 14th and the 15th of July. Absolutely amazing summer weather, if you like heat, of course. Before by the 16th, overnight 15th and into the 16th, we get a little bit of a cold front coming down, and this again triggers off some massive thunderstorms in the northern half of the country. Before by the 17th, we then get a little tiny bit of cooler weather then. Again, it's still very warm really, through the mid-20s and into the upper 20s quite widely, but we just ease off the extreme heat. So through the 18th and the 19th, it's a little bit cooler, as I said, before by the 20th again, high pressure just builds through the country. And actually one thing I should mention is on the 16th and 17th, the spectacular thunderstorms across the country actually unfortunately killed a couple people in East Anglia. There was 68 millimetres of rain in Cromer, and unfortunately 2 people were killed over there. So that is unfortunately the unfortunate side of thunderstorms, the fact that they do pose a bit of risk. But it just goes to show really, it stays hot as we go through into the 20th, into the 21st and the 22nd. High pressure just stays around the country. And on the 23rd again we bring more massive thunderstorms through the country as high pressure weakens. It's not only a spectacular month for heat, but it's also a spectacular month for thunder and lightning. Again, just more deluges of rain in some places, but again, go just a couple miles away and it's hot sunshine. Into the 24th and the 25th of July, the sunshine and thundery showers continue. Into the 26th and the 27th of July. And again, high pressure builds back in from the west, and again we get another push of heat through the 28th and the 29th of July. There, look at that, 1035 millibar high pressure ridging through the country. And again, we have temperatures up to 32 degrees in Skegness. and that goes on into the 30th of July before an area of low pressure develops over France and moves up through the country on the 31st of July. And this brings a band of heavy thunderstorms up through the country. So July 1983 goes out with a massive bang. And I should say that the highest temperature that was recorded in this month was 33.7 degrees at Liphook in Hampshire, and that was on the 16th of July. So truly an amazing month for summer heat. And amazingly, in terms of heat, we did actually manage to better this month in July 2006. You can have a look for the historic video that I did on the summer of 2006. And that was actually one of the first historic videos I ever did over a year ago. So it's probably not as good as some of my later ones, but you know, that's always the case when you first start off. But yeah, it's a fantastic end to an amazing July. And really, it carries on as we go through into August 1983. And August 1983 is again another very warm month with a central England temperature of 17.3 degrees. So, you know, the late summer doesn't let off. But through these opening days of August, actually, we do get a bit of cooler weather. You know, as you can see, the winds are a bit more northwesterly there. So we do bring a little bit of a moderation through this early part of August. So, you know, the 2nd and into the 3rd, we just have a little bit of a west to northwesterly flow. So this just brings some cooler and showery weather. Before by the 4th, you know, the high pressure comes back into the south. So again, we turn it warmer. You know, not dead hot at this point generally. Just sort of low to mid 20s across most of the country. So really quite pleasant heat at this time. You know, through the 5th and into the 6th, you know, high pressure once again just completely takes over the pattern. And August actually is probably the most anticyclonic of months of the summer. July was a seriously thundery month, but August is more sort of dry anticyclonic weather. You know, through the 7th and into the 8th of August, you know, high pressure stays again, there's no change. And look how far the jet stream is to the north there. You know, the black line indicates where it is, and it's actually just to the north of Iceland. So even so low pressure's right up to the east coast of Greenland. So that really is exceptionally far north. So, you know, even in parts of Iceland, it's probably decently warm there as well. But for us, you know, through the 9th and into the 10th, it just stays very warm. You know, again, temperatures are through into the mid to upper 20s. Into the 11th and the 12th of August, you know, we turn it a little bit cooler there as a bit of a northwesterly wind develops. But it doesn't last, because through the 13th and the 14th, you know, the high pressure comes back into the 15th and the 16th. Before by the 17th, an area of low pressure actually starts to turn the winds into the south. So, you know, the high pressure is just about stalling that low in the Atlantic. But again, as with what it's done through the rest of the summer, that pushes the winds into the south, like I said. And this brings up again some very hot weather as we go into this second half period of August. So through the 18th, you know, we have a straight southerly wind with thunderstorms in the west again. There was another big spell of thunderstorms on the 18th of August 1983. Before on the 19th of August, we actually record 32 degrees at Yeovilton. So again, 90 Fahrenheit recorded at this late stage of the summer. So it's again an absolutely fantastic end to what was a brilliant summer. You know, and into the 20th then we get a big spell of thunderstorms as low pressure off the Atlantic just starts to push into that high pressure. So through the 21st and into the 22nd of August, we have some large, widespread thunderstorms producing massive thunder and lightning and some big rainfall totals as well. You know, there was a lot of local variation in this summer, you know, from thunderstorms in terms of rainfall. So again, you know, there's no sign of ending, because as we go through the 22nd and into the 23rd of August, You know, the high pressure builds back through the country. The Azores high just keeps having a go. It's not letting the Atlantic in. Through the 24th and into the 25th of August, again, you know, temperatures up into the mid to upper 20s. And it's just absolutely fantastic weather for the end of summer. Into the 26th and the 27th of August, and the 28th, again, you know, the high pressure is just about holding on, but it's getting close to its end now, I'm afraid. You know, all good things must come to an end. You know, through the 29th and the 30th, you can see it's just starting to slip to the south now, and we're bringing low pressure into the far north. So probably for parts of Scotland, this is bringing the first rainfall for quite a long period of time. And into the 31st, which is the last day of the summer, we have low pressure waiting into the Atlantic. And what's actually really interesting about this summer is autumn actually arrives right on cue. So as we go into the 1st of September, you know, which is the first day of autumn in the meteorological calendar, you can see we've got a really vicious area of low pressure in the Atlantic, which I'd imagine actually is remnants of a tropical storm. You know, and as we go through the 1st and into the 2nd of September, look at that, you know, that tight dartboard in the Atlantic there, that rushes into the 3rd, you know, it brings heavy rain and severe gales across the country, you know, and so autumn, as I said, just rushes in right on cue. This was often a common feature with hot summers in the 20th century, you know, autumn tended to arrive right on cue. You know, and into the 4th we have the next area of low pressure in the Atlantic, and into the 5th, you know, so autumn by this point has definitely made its presence known. And throughout the autumn actually there were spells of summery weather as you would expect in autumn. There was actually one at the end of September, which brought temperatures widely into the mid-20s, you know, so the summer did have further goes into the autumn. But this was really the main end of the summer actually, and this is where I'm going to finish the charts. So if you've enjoyed this video, you know, please give me a like and subscribe. And of course, as always, if you have suggestions for historic weather videos, feel free to leave them in the description below. I'm always happy to have a look at them. You know, I am a bit backed up on requests at the moment because I've took a bit of a break from these. But as I said, we're going to try and get into a few more of these over the coming weeks. So as I said, as I always say, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.